Hey guys, welcome to Tablenauts. I'm Doolin, and this is my top 10 2022 games that weren't released in 2022. Reason for doing this list is honestly just because we miss a lot of games, and it's difficult sometimes to hit all of the games that came out in 2021 or 2020. But on top of that, there are games that, because I'm still 3 years new into this hobby, I missed from 10 plus years ago that I'm just now playing. And then on top of that, it's just difficult to always have time to talk about all of your favorite games. And I want to do that. So there are a couple games that just missed this that I do want to shout out that are incredible games. And those are, one being Dice Miner, a game that came out in 2021 that we just missed, at least I did, on that cusp of being able to review it for their top 2021 games. If you're into dice manipulation, dice drafting games like Sagrada, I think Dice Miner is a very fun game. There's no tile placement type of thing added like in Sagrada, but the drafting reminds me of Sagrada, along with kind of a Sushi Go type way of scoring. It's just a blast. Go give it a try if you're into any of those games that I just mentioned. Two others that did not come out this year that I loved, that just missed my top 10 are Lost Cities, an incredible two-player card game that I love every single time I play. The strategy in that game and the hate keeping, right? Not playing, but hate keeping of cards is just delightful. And then another game that just missed it was Agricola, which I never thought I would love, but man, after learning it and playing it multiple times, just the fun of farming, right? And building up an engine that goes from, I'm just trying to survive each round and not starve, to I have a thriving farm of animals, of vegetables, and like scoring a bunch of points. Like, it's just so good. And I love games that kind of ramp up that way. But those are three games that did not make this list, so let's stop talking about them. Number 10 is a game that I love, and I have played 20 plus times this year, and I'm still playing it. I'm in like 3 games of it right now on BGA. I just join random people's games because I can't stop playing it, and it's a wonderful world. I can't really tell you what the theme is. It's very like futuristic, maybe, I don't know, industrial theme. But the reason this game is unique enough to me to make its way so high on my list is that it's a drafting game, a la Sushi Go, again, right? Where you're drafting a card, you're passing the rest. But in this game, all of the cards you're drafting have either this resource cube that you can get in the bottom right by recycling the card at the end of the round, or you can build the card with resource cubes, which always cost like at least 2, sometimes upwards of 7 or 8. And if you build them, you actually get permanent resource cubes in future rounds. And then on top of that, you also score points. So depending on what it says in the bottom left, whether it be you score points based on the number of a specific type of color you have in cards, or maybe a specific type of resource, you can also score just basic normal points. Like blue cards typically just give you points like 2 points all the way up to 15. I think there was even like a 20 pointer. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I just love that push and pull of you're gonna be growing out this engine of resources cubes by building cards, but do I go heavy into building early and then not have those extra resources, or do I suffer by just building 1 or 2, but guess what, in future rounds I'm gonna be able to do a lot more because I've built out that engine. It's interesting, it's fun. There's some hate drafting involved that I think if you want to win, I've seen players do that really, really well. Just a lot of strategy for a drafting game that I think if you're into those like base pick and pass games that are just like point salady and you want something a little more crunchy, this is the game that you should look at. Next up is number 9 is My City, a game that I'm still playing through my first time all the way through with Kenny and Max, but I think we're on like round 24 or something crazy high like that. This game is a polyomino game where every turn, every person is going to get the same tile to place on their board, but where you place it is entirely up to you. You're gonna score more points by filling in all of the blank spaces and covering up rocks, and you're going to score even more points if you leave trees that are on the board open to score you points. There's also a multitude of different ways that the game will score based off of placing similar colored blocks together, or surrounding churches, or building out industrial sections, or building next to whichever block you just placed. I'm going through a whole bunch of kind of spoilery stuff, so maybe I'll stop with just that. It's just a game that constantly evolves into a game that keeps you wanting to come back. I've never, like, if I just sat down and I played 24 rounds of Barron Park with Max and Kenny, eventually I'd be like, maybe we should play something different. But the way that it constantly makes it new and interesting every round is cool. And on top of that, one thing that we really have been talking about recently is that I love the catch-up mechanics. If one person is way better than another, after a certain number of rounds with bonuses and handicaps given to the better player, they'll probably catch up, meaning that nobody's gonna run away with it after the 40th turn or whatever. I forget how many rounds there are. This keeps the game interesting enough that most players will probably stick it out long term, because I don't know, if I was losing by like 20 points to somebody, I wouldn't want to keep playing either. But this game means that we're going to see, probably from the added rule sets to what wanting to see what's going to come next, to the natural handicaps the game has, makes this game really tight and fun to play as a group. At number 8, I have Always-Dell, which is a worker placement, incredibly cute card drafting game. There's not really drafting involved. It's kind of a race to build out cards that are in this pool. There's just so much to go for in this game. I find it fun to push for specific types of cards so that you can get the added bonuses at the top, as well as going for the extra bonuses that are in the trees. But just simply trying to maximize points based off of matching the critters with their homes is so fun, and it's unique. I've never really played anything like this, and every single time I go back to it, it raises a few spots in my rating of it. So that is number 8, and I'm gonna move on to another worker placement that I think is incredibly cute and is just better than Always-Dell, is Honey Buzz. In this game, I think that the reason it gets a little bit of an edge is because it feels more of a race. And then on top of, which is something that I always think a game, if you can get away from just strictly points based scoring and add in some type of race mechanic, it makes the game entirely more tight and tense. But there's also a tile placement aspect to the game as well, and just all the different stuff that you can push for, and then the added variability of not just waiting for every single person to use up their workers before you move on to the next round, but it's just this fluid, natural moment of, I place a worker, if I don't have any more workers to place, I spend a turn retrieving my workers. And if I'm careful with my workers, I can get more turns than everybody else around the table. And especially so if I'm able to essentially in my hive create spaces that will allow me to get more bees as well. Number 6 is a racing game with dice, and that is Dicebitos, which is just, I feel bad for it because it probably would have gotten one of my top, it wouldn't have gotten the sticker, right, like Set a Watch did, but it would have gotten one of my top games of, I think 2021 is when it came out. But this is a John D. Clare game that is so bonkers looking and unique in the theme, but the way the game plays is just so fun. It's a push your luck, really income use game where after you've rolled dice and after you've stopped pushing your luck, you'll move a number of spaces and then also have a number of income that you can use to buy more dice for your pool. So honestly, think of like a deck building game, but instead of a deck, it's dice. It's a dice building game, but you're not building dice like Kapow. There's not a word for this that I can think of, but I like this, whatever it is. Dicebitos is fun. There are catch-up mechanics, like think Mario Kart, where if you constantly are just pushing your luck and failing, like you're not out of the race, you're gonna get some help. But Dicebitos, very fun racing game that I think a lot of people should try and give a shot. Number 5 for me, so we're halfway through this list, is Great Western Trail. And this game I'm on a high of right now. And I thought about raising it up even higher after a recent play, but I decided, better not. I should stick with my original thoughts on this game, but it is incredible, guys. I've played 20 plus plays, and I just recently got my very first win, and that is because this game is incredibly hard to learn a strategy on. It's incredibly easy to learn. You're simply moving a little dude up a certain number of spaces and doing whatever tile it is that you land on, what it says, but the strategy involved of, do I push for heavy in engineers, or heavy in cowboys, or heavy in builders, or do I do a combined strat of 2 of them, or do I forego all of those and just simply try to get a bunch of points at the very beginning and then make the game like go by really, really quickly? Do I go heavy in objectives like Kyle does and win when people don't expect you to win? Like, this game is so good, guys, and if you have the chance to play it, I would say give it a shot and keep trying, because your first couple of plays, or maybe even your first 10 plays, are going to be difficult, and you're going to get blown out of the water by somebody who's good at the game if there's somebody like that at the table. But after a while, you'll start to watch, and you'll start to see like the ones and zeros of Great Western Trail, and you'll start to develop your own sort of strategies. And every single time I've played this, I've learned something new, and that is a testament to not only how I learned it, which was I just got thrown into a game on BGA, but on top of that, I've just loved how much there is in this game to go for. That is number 5, Great Western Trail, and I can see it rising in my rankings, in my actual top games rankings very, very quickly if I keep playing it and loving it like I am. Number 4 is a game that I played a lot early on in the year, and I haven't as much now, but I still love it. It's another worker placement game, and this is A Feast for Odin. This is, I think, one of the biggest strategies you can have. If you want Doolin to like your heavy game, is to disguise it with cuteness or disguise it with polyomino tiles, and that's the route that A Feast for Odin took. The amount of strategies in this game to go for is just insane at how many different options you have on your turn, and I love that so much. But on top of that, as the game goes on, you're just going to be getting these tiles, and so it turns into who can fill their spaces the best while also getting the resources, while also getting enough money from where you're placing your tiles. It's just, it's so fun. I love every time I've played it, and I've enjoyed playing it in person and even on BGA. Like, it has not detracted at all, and it continues to be this game that I just have extremely fond memories of, and a game that I love to revisit. Number 3 for me is a game that should not surprise anyone that it's on this list, but it's a game that I've spent over 80 hours in at this point. It's one of the best storytelling games that I've ever played, ever, and that is Tainted Grail by Awakened Realms. I love this game. It is a blast to play. I cannot talk enough about how incredible the writing is, how incredible the build-up, right, of moments, and just how well crafted the decisions that they give you. Like, there's a straight up just book that I'm pretty sure I read from cover to cover of all the decisions that you could possibly make in this game. There are a number of endings, and it's just so fun. I even love like the deck crafting, the deck building aspect of the game. The leveling up system is a blast to go through. Beautiful game. Beautiful amount of love poured into it. I can't tell you enough. If you have the ability to really dive into a game solo and leave something out on the table somewhere for an extended period of time, Tainted Grail is your game. And I've heard this new version that's going to come out that already hit Kickstarter last year. Heard that they've even improved some of the things that I complained about in my 80+ hour review. But guys, this game is incredible. It is number 3 for a reason. Out of all of the games, the new to me games this year, love it so much. And the number 2 is a game that I think would be lower on my list if I did not love the fandom of this game as much as I do. But this game, it's it's Rebellion from Star Wars, from Fantasy Flight. And I've played this with Kenny 3 times now, and Max 1 time, and one of those was combined. Max and Kenny actually played the Empire against me as the Rebels. It was the first time that anytime I'd played that the Rebels had actually won. I do think that a 3-player game, despite what the game says that you can do that, isn't as great. And I also don't think that this is as good for people who don't appreciate Star Wars, who don't like Star Wars that much or haven't watched it like Max has. I think that if you're a fan, how long the game is drawn out will not be a problem for you, because you'll just be lost in all of the lore, all of the movies that are going through your head, the moments as they go from planet to planet. You know what these planets are. You can think of a million scenes from each of them, but it's a simple cat and mouse game. The Empire's goal is to find the Rebellion. The Rebellion's goal is to last a number of turns and accomplish a certain number of objectives, so that that time that the Empire has to find you is smaller and smaller. And just like how I said I love like racing games, the last few turns of this ramp up incredibly well. You know that the Empire have really narrowed your planet possibilities down if you're the Rebellion, and if you're the Empire, you're stressed out of your mind because you've narrowed it down to 2 planets and you don't know which one it is, and you're not sure, and you're really trying to bluff the other player into giving you some information, or one card that you can use to interrogate a person you've captured will narrow it down entirely. But man, I've seen Death Star explosions. I've seen last turns where like with Max and Kenny, they had found my rebel base on the very last turn, got 1 attack on me, and I just survived. And guys, just an incredible game. If you're a Star Wars fan, have fun with this. Like really, really dive into it. It's worth the teach, and it's worth the amount of time it takes to learn. I can't think of a better Star Wars game or better IP game that I've played, except for my #1 game from 2022 that is new to me and was not a 2022 release, is Dune Imperium. And guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and spoil it. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's probably my top 5 games of all time. It is an incredibly fun worker placement, fighty race game that every single time has more heart-pounding moments, more moments where I'm excited to come back to it again. I'm excited to play other expansions. We just played the Rise of X expansion, and I think that it's incredible. It does not detract from the overall game at all. And I'm saying this as a 10 out of 10 as a person who's never read or seen Dune. I just look at it and it reminds me of Star Wars a little bit, but I see the characters, I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like Jason Momoa. Oh, that kind of looks like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sorry I can't remember your name, actor. If you watch this, what are you doing? Are you a board game fan? Come play board games with me. I would love that. It does not overstay its welcome despite being a long game. It always is more exciting as the game goes on, despite being a long game. You never really feel out of it. Even if you have 6 points and a person's at 9 pushing 10 and you know they're gonna get it next turn, this game is so swingy, and you can steal points from players, and you can do so many things that keep the game going that it's just, man, such a fun experience every time. And I've had some of my biggest flops, like failures in Dune Imperium. I've had some of my best wins and greatest triumphs in this game. And I know what helps with this love is that Max loves it. It was his favorite 2022 new to him game as well. It's one of Kenny's favorite games of all time. I cannot stress to you guys enough how good this game is, despite if you hate or love the movies or books. Just give it a try. It is worth your time. It is the best worker placement game I've ever played, and I doubt it will ever be beat. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you've liked this video, please consider subscribing or liking it. And then on top of that, a couple of announcements are very soon you're gonna be seeing a video of our top games of all time. We have a couple of other announcements coming that I don't want to spoil by myself. And then on top of that, we have a merch store that is fairly new, and you can find links to it down in the description below. And so if you've considered, I don't know, maybe our Patreon in the past, and you're like, I don't have the money for that, but I'd still, I'd love to like support you guys in some way, that would be a really easy way. I think you could buy a beanie or a cup or a hoodie, whatever it is that you like. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. If you have a game that you've loved from this last year that was new to you but not new to the world, as in 2022 game, let me know. Let me know, and maybe we can talk about how much we both love it, or maybe it's a game I've not played yet and I really need to try. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again. Thank you so much. Love you guys. See you next time. Bye.